There's nothing going well here, and there's nothing even starting to look like it's heading in the right direction. So buckle up. It's going to be a really difficult, uncomfortable ride. And the only strategy this guy has, by the way,
Start with the numbers first, folks. It's 10 p.m. I'm in Florida. I just got back with the kids. We went to some, I don't know, gator airboat thing, and then I said I should relax. I should watch my Warriors be pathetic without Steph Curry against the pathetic Pelicans. But I felt compelled to just talk about the stories that are happening, because this administration is so reckless, so pathetic, so venal, so corrupt. They don't even rest in their incompetence and cruelty during Thanksgiving weekend. Instead of simply saying, "Happy Thanksgiving, everyone," at Pardon a Turkey, Donald Trump goes on unhinged rants on Twitter and Truth Social, going against immigrants, threatening to deport us back to third world countries, going against Somali refugees. I don't know about you, Mike, but all the bots have come out on Twitter. I think the algorithm shifted in the past 2 days. I've been getting hit with Nazis. They took a clip from what I said yesterday, End Wokeness, that account, just some fragile teacup. And, they're going all in. Like, literally, this is all in. Go back, go back, go back. And folks, if you haven't followed the Department of Homeland Security for the second time, because I keep receipts, the first time was in October, the second time, on their official Twitter account said remigrate. Now, if you're a normie, you don't know what that means. Remigrate? What are they talking about? Remigrate, for those who don't know, is a word used in white supremacist and white nationalist circles. You will only find it in those circles. That is a synonym for ethnic cleansing, to remove people who look like me and Mike from America to make America white again. They're going all in, 10 toes down. Now, as this is happening, folks, the poll numbers are coming up. And I always have Mike, because Mike is a co-founder of the Lincoln Project, and Mike loves the data. And then Mike's analysis of the data so far has been razor sharp. So we're going to spin the wheel of chaos. We're going to talk about Pete Hegseth. We're going to talk about Kristi Noem. We're going to talk about the Republican defections. There's another one that just happened today. Someone's not running for re-election. We're going to talk about all in on xenophobia, because I don't think they have anything else left. But some good news. First, let's just start with the data. Mike, you were on a couple of weeks ago. You're on now. I notice about once a month I have you on, because whenever I want to talk about the numbers with someone, Mike's been on top of it for 30 years. Last time, I just reminded you of this before I press record. I predicted that Trump might go to 35% approval. And you said, Waj, I don't know, but I could see it. Can you talk to us about the poll that came out yesterday?
Yeah, look, you were right. The reason why I always hesitate when breaking new ground is because we are now at the lowest point of Donald Trump's second term for sure. I'm looking for data to show that it got this bad at the depths of COVID. There was always a couple of outliers that you could show, but this is, credible news, source that I tweeted out. I'm trying to remember what it was. It was either a Politico or somebody's that was showed the numbers now hit. Is Gallup? I'm sorry, it's Gallup. So it's blue. It's blue
Gallup
chip.
From November 23rd.
Yeah, so this is gold standard stuff. I mean, this is not, Gallup is the longest running gauge of American political opinion. Goes back to the 30s and 40s. Anyway, look, 35, 36, this is an extremely low range. This also explains, Waj, why they're going full-blown white supremacist, full-blown nationalism and the bots are coming out, is because they're trying to consolidate the most intense of the base to engage in this fight to get back on top of the media narrative. As you and I were discussing last time, things are bad. They're getting worse. They're starting to spiral out of control. The worst possible thing that can happen, to MAGA and Donald Trump, is defections. I say that as a Lincoln Project guy. They will destroy you. They will ruin you. They will come after your children, your family, your profession, your job. They will destroy you. Marjorie Taylor Greene leaving what was, as Kevin McCarthy himself said, a canary in the coal mine.
Yeah.
There's two things I want you to watch. They're a little bit different. One is going to be retirements, which you're going to start hearing about a lot of retirements coming up.
And
The
we'll
other
talk
is, I
about
think,
one that just got announced today. We'll talk about that.
yeah. The other, and this is going to be a little bit anomalous, but I think you're going to see a handful more of these resignations. Okay. Those are two foundationally different things. And here's why. When you decide to resign your office and leave the office, it means you recognize that the best political position for you to have is to blame. When you're retiring, you're stepping out and saying, like, that's it. I'm going to go kick up my heels on a rocking chair on the porch and, watch my grandkids grow. Resigning is usually a sign that their political career has just taken a dramatic shift, a dramatic change, and they want to have the higher political ground, at least in their minds, to blame the current administration and blame the party, knowing that this thing is going to be going down and the ship is sinking. So rather than getting off, and saying, I'm not running, these people are actively jumping onto lifeboats and saying, pushing it down and saying that they're the problem. That's what's wrong. And that's why when you're starting to see mid-30s, and that it's extraordinary. Trump's floor of support usually sits at a low 40s, very high 30s range, 40, 41. When you're getting to 36, 35, you're cutting into MAGA bone here. These are active MAGA defectors. It's not independents anymore. It's not Lincoln Project Republicans. It's people that voted for him 3 times that are starting to say, they're Marjorie Taylor Greens. They're like, I'm done. Now, it's not huge, but this is, I want to say, if it's not unprecedented, we maybe only saw this one other time, which would be at the depths of COVID, at least in the beginning parts of it.
And let me just reaffirm that real quick. I reposted another poll. This is a YouGov poll from 4 days ago, describing the change between Trump voters. This is Trump voters now, from February to now. He has his disapproval rate has gone up +10 with Trump voters. His approval rate with Trump voters has gone -9. So overall, he's hovering at 36, folks, which is the lowest he's been. Like Mike said, probably we have to check it out, but probably since the depths of COVID. Certainly the lowest he's been in the second administration. And folks, for those who don't follow politics, this is the honeymoon period. It still has not been a year.
Yeah.
Lost independents, lost women, lost young voters. He lost people of color, right? The Latino voters. Mike predicted it. Overreach on economy and overreach on immigration. He said these people have no fidelity to Trump. They want to make the world better for themselves. They've gone back to their 2016 numbers. Marjorie Taylor Greene sees where the wind is blowing. She's gone. Nick Fuentes is flirting. He says MAGA is dead, but then comes back once in a while for the white nationalist agenda. Tucker Carlson, he sees where the wind is blowing. He's shifting on certain issues. And now, speaking about the defection, we just had one today. So what does the congressman from Texas, Troy Nell's sudden retirement announced on a Saturday during Thanksgiving weekend tell you, Mike?
Well, tells me one, he's trying to bury the news. As I understand it, there's an open ethics investigation, but that's not, and I hate to say this, but that's not terribly uncommon, by the way. An ethics investigation is not terribly uncommon. It's unfortunate, but it's true. This is telling us that, again, the retirement numbers are going to stack up. I think you're going to see probably upwards of 15 or 20
Wow.
by early summer, maybe more. Okay. There's this realization that we're at the end of the line. For a lot of these people's career, there's nothing else to be had by continuing to wave the MAGA flag. There just isn't. You can kind of do that and kind of run yourself into the minority for a while. You're going to have to start excusing and explaining years of stuff that you did when there's no good excuse for it, for constituencies that are really, really hurting. And perhaps most importantly, these members are briefed on where the economy is heading in a way that we, as the average people, are not. The economy's going to get bad, folks. I mean, we need to start taking care of our fellow man out there, because there's going to be a lot of pain. There's going to be a lot of suffering. And you're starting to see airlines and airports, those problems are starting to compound. Our foreign policy is in complete chaos, a complete disaster. Consumer confidence, we talked about that last time, has completely fallen off a cliff to 70-year lows. Inflationary pressures are on the rise again. There's nothing going well here, and there's nothing even starting to look like it's heading in the right direction. So buckle up. It's going to be a really difficult, uncomfortable ride. And the only strategy this guy has, by the way, is to do what he's doing, is to throw out all the crazy and to double down on the white nationalism, the racism, the overt, bigotry, because what he's got to do is he's got to consolidate and hold his base because he's losing 3 to 4 points. One of the quick poll too, the Politico poll showed that about upwards of 40% of new Trump voters are done with him too. So a lot of these folks, those demographics you mentioned that just shifted in his direction, I think 40% we're having second thoughts and saying we're not with him anymore. So that explains again these deep, deep troughs that he's seeing in his support ranges. You were right calling it at 35. This could go lower. This could drop even lower.
And someone just said, "Well, what about Black Friday? I heard the Black Friday sales were good, folks. It's a temporary boost." Many people are saying this is now a K-shaped economy, right? Different segments of the population are recovering at different levels. We saw a couple months ago is that the top 10% are doing the majority of spending, while everyone else is tightening their belts. And if you will, not spending. And furthermore, what we've seen from the job reports, whenever they come out, they don't come out anymore because, of course, Donald Trump wants to just suppress all the data, right? That's a normal thing to do, right, Mike? Oh, we don't like the job numbers, so they're not going to come out. But what we do know is that those job markets, those job numbers aren't looking good. So the private sector isn't hiring as much. There was just a government shutdown in Virginia. There were federal employees lining up, also veterans, soldiers at the food bank. That's not a good sign for the economy. Prices have gone up. Grocery prices have gone up. Inflation is still up. Donald Trump is negative double digits on the economy, on inflation, on prices. Even if you have a small bump during the Black Friday sales, I probably attribute it to the fact that retailers realize the economy is really bad, depressed the numbers on their sales, which showed me, Mike, I digress, but I just want to say this, that they could probably be offering us these prices all the time, but they just charge it up because they can ever since COVID, right? Yeah. So you saw like 30% off, 40% off. I'll just give a personal example. My kids like Lego. Lego had the type of insane sales this year that they've never had, like 30, 40% off of stuff that they usually don't have. So number one, I'm looking at it. You can actually sell this at this price all the time. And number two, the reason why you're doing so many sales, to me, Mike, is a realization that, oh, if we didn't do these sales, people wouldn't buy. So I think people took advantage of it. So you're going to probably have a short-term spike for like a week. And Trump is going to say on Tuesday, Wednesday, look at that. Online sales were fantastic, going up 4%. Trump economy, everything's going great. Give it 2 weeks after that, Mike.
Yeah. That's what I was just going to say. Is that I think that's exactly what it is. Is people that may be the only shopping they're going to get done because those are the best prices that people feel they're going to get, and that's it. Whether that happens or not, we'll see. But look, I'm not an economist, but I'm not going to gauge what's happening and where the economy is heading based off of Black Friday sales and whether they were up or down. Like to me, that's probably not a really good data point. I don't want to tell economists how to do their job. They don't tell me as somebody who polls for a living how to do my job. So I appreciate that. But like I said, when you're seeing the key indicators of the economy and people are struggling, I'll give you another one. Auto defaults
That's
are
right.
high now, are through the roof, guys. They're through the roof. And they're going to get worse, which is a credit problem. And now we're starting to see unemployment start to inch up too, where before the problem was just affordability and cost of living. Now it's a job concern. So
also credit cards and homes.
yeah, yeah, all of it. I mean, like I said, you can almost always find some good data point somewhere, but when the data point that's good that you're looking for is Black Friday sales, things are bad. So, and I think we all feel it, by the way. I think everybody is like, wait a second, like things feel shaky. There's a sense, I think, in the country that the rug's about to be pulled out from underneath us. It's probably going to be pulled by the President of the United States. And I think people just have this anxiety about where things are heading and they'd rather retrench, even if things are good for you or heading in a good direction. I think people are just very cautious about where we're heading. The
And I
polling
want to
is
say one thing
clearly
about
reflecting that.
one thing on the economy. We can only go based off the data. Me and Mike aren't economists, Just looking at the data, looking at the numbers, looking at the polls, talking to people, he's negative double digits on the economy. So even though he tells people the economy is great, people aren't feeling it. He's negative double digits on prices. The greatest prices have lowered. People aren't believing it. Inflation's gone. I fixed it. Nope. People still are. He's negative double digits on the inflation. So you can. We've said this before, Mike. I know I sound like a broke record every time you come on. Is you could bullshit people about anything, about COVID, about friggin' Dr. Fauci, about Donald Trump winning the election that he lost in 2020, and people would believe it. You cannot, whether you're a Democrat or Republican, lie or bullshit to people about what's in their wallet. You cannot tell them that the economy is doing great if they're feeling pain. And this was from Fortune in September 14th. The housing data is the most critical economic variable for predicting recessions, and it's now at the lowest level since pandemic shutdowns. So again, we're not economists, but you just, have to open your eyes and listen to people and see what's in your wallet and talk to your neighbors and go to the grocery store and look at all the data that's available to us. And Mike, I don't think you can get out of this economic turmoil that he's in.
No, no. There's two other things I want to bring up. All of that, second the motion on all of that. But what I will say is there's other things I want to look at really quickly. Where he's pulling the worst at is on healthcare costs. And a lot of the premium increase hasn't even happened yet. Okay? So once that happens, uh Katie, bar the door. Like it's gonna be bad, depending on the size of premium increase, of course. But people are already feeling it. They already blame him more than Democrats by a wide margin. His attempts to blame Joe Biden or Barack Obama or Hillary Clinton's emails, whatever he's going to try to do, is not going to work. He already owns that in the minds of the American public. There's one other thing I want to point out too. Over a third of Republicans now, over a third in the political poll, say they are not a MAGA Republican. They are Republican. There's a distancing happening
Wow.
where people are saying, I'm not part of MAGA. I don't buy the MAGA agenda. Over a third, Wash, over a third. That is that's more than double like where it's been in its heights. So like I said, this distancing, what you're seeing manifest with these members of Congress resigning, retiring, the polling is showing it. The voters are detaching now. Trump fatigue syndrome is what's happening. Is people are tired of this shit. They're not buying it anymore. They're tired of defending him. Like, to your point, how do you defend the economy when everybody can see it with their own eyes, with your friends at work or the water cooler? Like, if you're pure MAGA and you've been kind of been that obnoxious person at Thanksgiving dinner or whatever, like, what are you defending? What are you defending anymore? You have
Well,
nothing to you
you
got
have
nothing to stand on anymore.
nothing. Economy, he promised, folks, we keep receipts. He promised that he'll make the economy great again. He'll take care of inflation. Prices will come down. The exact opposite has happened. Why has the exact opposite happened? Because of his dumb shit, reckless trade war that he created and he started because he has no idea how trades and tariffs work, because he actually probably didn't pay attention when he was sent to Wharton. It's been stuck in his little, friggin' dementia-addled head, alleged dementia-addled head since the 90s. He thinks like he doesn't understand how economies work. So he thinks if there's a type of like deficit, he thinks countries are screwing us, not realizing we actually take advantage of those countries by like buying more stuff from them, right? So he sees disadvantages and they're screwing us. They're screwing us. I'm like, no, bro, Vietnam is not screwing us. Okay, these poor African countries are not screwing us, but it doesn't matter. So he does his trade war. As a result of the trade war, tariffs. Tariffs. What are tariffs? Taxes that are eventually paid by who? Us. And now you're seeing the retailers, the restaurateurs, there's only so much that they could hold on, right? But now they can't absorb it anymore. So they're passing on the cost to who? Us. Prices of everything's going up. Our allies are going to Europe. Our allies are going to China. Our allies are going to Japan. China's like, soy farmers, you know what? We don't need you. Peace out. We're going to go to Argentina and Brazil. Now all these white soy farmers who voted for Trump are literally desperate. Some of them suicidal. And also, as Mike said, when it comes to extending the Obamacare premiums, smart idea. Just do it. Take credit for it, right? But they're so cruel, Mike. They're so cruel that they refuse to extend it because this is part and parcel of the MAGA agenda, cruelty. Not only that, folks, we still haven't even talked about the big, beautiful bill, the big billionaire bill that will give the 1% permanent tax cuts at the expense of gutting Medicaid. That's going to happen next year, Mike. So anyone who thinks, and I want to be wrong, but again, even though I'm a simple English major, you know, I can read some data, Mike. I could see where the wind is blowing. I can read I also have a kid. I also have, I pay for groceries. I also talk to my neighbors. I also read the polls. And by the way, I see how everyone's struggling, and we still haven't gutted Medicaid, which is down the pipeline. So I mean, that means the economy is going to get worse, folks. So he's at 36 now. Imagine how worse it's going to get. The second thing that he can't escape when it comes to the polls is the Epstein files. Now he thinks there's a lull. Let me distract. But Mike, it seemed last time I checked, he was negative 35 on the Epstein files, and his
Right.
MAGA is cracking on this issue as well.
Yeah, and let me talk about how significant the fissure is, the break between MAGA and non-MAGA Republicans. I think I mentioned 38% of Republicans, 38% Republicans are saying I'm not MAGA, which, I think a lot of us normies are saying, like, how can that not be up in the 80s? But this is a very, very high level of Republicans saying I'm not with MAGA. But, and this is important too, 55% do. That's a really bad number. That's a really bad number. And let me explain this a little bit more. We know that those that are self-described MAGA, it's a cult. 47% of that 55%, if you're following me, still say the economy is Biden's fault. But I know. But 26% of that 40% are saying the same thing, which means 70% of all these people are blaming Trump on the economy. These are all Republicans, folks. These are all Republicans. So I do think, and again, I've never said this before in 8 years, 10, 12 years, whatever the hell it's been now, tracking this guy's polling numbers, we could see you could see this go under 35. You could,
Wow.
you could, you could see this number drop below. I would be pleasantly surprised that the fever swamp is finally breaking, but all of the polling is saying that it is. So and once those cracks start reconstituting it, how do you reconstitute it? Especially as you point out very well, it's the explosion at the Heritage Foundation. It's Nick Fuentes and Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens and Megyn Kelly and Erica Kirk and all these factions. JD Vance trying to pick up a shattered windshield off of the street, right? Put this coalition back together. Ted Cruz is circling. All these leaked out stories about the White House pissed at Ted Cruz because Cruz now is posturing to kind of take him on. So the vultures are circling. And we've never seen Trump with Republican vultures circling like this when everything is about to get really bad on every front. So this is going to, he could get very, very unwieldy too. That's part of what we're seeing. Well, let's just wag the dog and go to war with Venezuela. Let me pardon all my buddies out there to find other ways for me to get out, like this Honduran, drug dealer was quoted. Are you following the story, Wash?
Yeah.
This Honduran president was saying we're going to stuff cocaine up the gringos' noses. This guy was running drugs into the United States for decades,
Yep.
and yet he's pardoning. Trump is pardoning. It's unbelievable. But like I said, there are finally cracks and fissures in MAGA, and right now is the time for offense. Like, just unload the cannon, fire everything, because people are seeing those prices in the stores, and once they're realizing this guy's full of shit on the economy, all of the other stuff starts to go, hey, maybe the guy's been lying to us all this time.
So what we're seeing right now, and I've said this before, is the two Achilles cankles of Donald Trump, which I said would be in the summer, were the economy and the Epstein. I think I said the economy would get worse. He could not escape it. And the Epstein files, he can't escape it. I do not think he can escape both. And if things are bad right now, folks, unfortunately, it's going to get worse. I hope I'm wrong. It's going to get worse because that billionaire bill, the tax cuts, permanent tax cuts, they're going to come at the expense of Medicaid. And once that happens, my fear is not only will people die, my fear is in a country of 400 million guns, people will be radicalized. So you got the economy, you got Epstein. The third plank, which was his strong plank, his strong suit, he's even negative on that, which leads us to what's been happening for the past week ever since those two National Guard members were shot and killed by the Afghan national. Xenophobia. He can always rely upon good old anti-immigrant xenophobia, white supremacy, racism, and nativism, right? That was like his white rabbit. out of his white hat. But he's now negative double digits even on immigration. ICE. Majority of people don't like ICE. So they have been frothing at the mouth. I'm sure you've been seeing Laura Loomer on Twitter and the MAGA. Oh, they have a boner ever since they found out it was an Afghan national. And since they're so incompetent, since they're so reckless, since there's so many clowns, racist clowns in that administration, they didn't bother to do a little bit of research. So they blamed Biden, and they blamed the liberals, and they blamed these Democrats who actually served, unlike Trump, who said disobey legal orders. They blamed all of them for the violence, much like they tried to blame they and them for Charlie Kirk's murder that was done by Tyler Robinson, a white man. Same playbook from just what we saw a couple of months ago. But what they forgot to do was a little bit of research that showed that he is completely vetted by both administrations, worked for the CIA in the infamous and notorious Zero Unit, which was known for his barbarity. His friend said, based on the atrocities that he witnessed and he was forced to commit, that in part radicalized him. And finally, the administration that granted him asylum was the Trump administration. So they've been trying for the last 3 days, Mike, and this thing during Thanksgiving just blew up in their faces because now people are like, whoa, what was he doing for the CIA? And how come the CIA radicalizes everybody? And why did you give him asylum? They're like, okay, anyway, Muslims, get rid of the Muslims. All the Muslims are bad. Somalis and the refugees and everything. And as they're doing this, it's not working because he doubled down on a failed strategy of the National Guard. I'm in DC, Virginia. I can tell you the majority of people are sick and tired of them being there. If a judge last week said they were illegally deployed, which means that they were voluntarily put in harm's way by Donald Trump. They shouldn't have been there. So what does he do, Mike? He doubles down. He says, well, maybe I should bring them home. No, 500 more. 500 more National Guard members. So that's 2,500 more in DC, Virginia. Then doubling down on white nationalist talking points, the DHS published remigrate on Twitter, which is a white nationalist term for literally ethnic cleansing. Now they say we're going to send them back to third world countries, just doubling down on the racism, right? Go against birthright citizenship, denaturalize citizens, right? Going against Ilhan Omar for no reason, simply because she's black, a Muslim hijabi, mocking her job, lies against Somali refugees in Minnesota, cruelty. Instead of just simply saying happy Thanksgiving, folks, this is what he did on midnight, right? Cruelty against women after a week of telling a female reporter, quiet piggy. A woman asked him, like, goes, but didn't you? I'm forgetting who this reporter, where she was from. If anyone knows, let me know. She asked very soberly, professionally, but sir, wasn't this Afghan national given asylum during your administration? You're an idiot. You're an idiot. And just went on and on and on. And now they've gone all in, right? Because like you said, Mike, they realize, okay, old man Cankles is fading. This is our last shot. This is, we got to go guns blazing. And to me, it seems clear that the person running the show is Stephen Miller. And he realizes like this is his last hurrah. This is his Alamo moment. He's going all in. So now you have folks, and we're going to start. There's a lot of these stories I think are all connected. Yesterday, for those who haven't followed, because I'm sure you're a normal human being having Thanksgiving dinner, President Trump said Friday he intends to grant a, quote, full and complete pardon to former Honduran President Juan Orlando Hernandez, a move that would erase a major U.S. drug trafficking conviction for a one-time U.S. ally who is currently serving a 45-year prison sentence. You guys with me? Wait 1 second. So pardoning the former Honduran president who was a straight-up drug trafficker. Okay. Now, Mike, I'm going to give you his quote from today, Donald Trump's quote today. I want you to reconcile. 13 hours ago, Donald Trump on Twitter. To all airlines, pilots, drug dealers, and human traffickers, please consider the airspace above and surrounding Venezuela to be closed in its entirety. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump. Mike, reconcile those two positions.
Yeah, not only can I not reconcile it, but again, Waj, this is where I'm seeing a lot of conservative commentators that have been kind of apologetics for Donald Trump, saying this is tantamount to something unconstitutional. You got to take this to Congress. This is an act. We're at active war stage here now. You can't just go and unilaterally shut down the airspace of a sovereign nation. That's an act of war. That requires an act of Congress. So I know there's a lot of conservatives, a lot of defenders for Trump that I was following throughout the course of the day on just this issue, the constitutionality of just this issue, he's overreached and overstepped. And as I was saying when we first started talking earlier this year, a lot of this is going to be about the overreaching. It's not even on his areas where he does have solid support from the public, or did rather, immigration, the economy. It's the overreaching. It's his incapacity to show any sort of self-discipline or self-awareness. It's that the sloth and the greed. It's the seven deadly sins. It's the inability to just be a rational, reasonable leader within normal constraints. And that's what's going to continue to get him into trouble. Now, look, I also do feel that we're kind of like in George W. Bush year 6 territory, where there's no good options anymore. So you keep doubling down. Remember the solution was always to add more troops in Iraq. I shouldn't be laughing, but that's the sign of an administration that feels cornered, because they refuse to acknowledge that they're wrong on central policy tenets. So what they're going to do is they're going to keep doubling down. 500 more National Guard members. Oh, you're pissed at Pete Hegseth for bombing these ships and saying kill them all? Well, we'll just start shutting down airspaces for other places. Let's just keep showing in their mind strength. That's what George Bush was doing. Right? On this failed policy, it was double down, commit more troops, stay the course, and of course it ends in a fiasco. But we're not even a year in, to your point. Like, there's a long way to go. And imagine what this is going to look like if there's this political landslide that is emerging, this swelling that is building in the midterms, when the Democrats take over at least one house of the Congress. It's not good. Watch.
I remember 2006, and 2006, folks, for those who remember, was when the war on terror started taking its toll, and when the neocon strategy started failing, and when the economy was faltering, and then you had Hurricane Katrina, and then people saw dead U.S. soldiers come back, and people didn't see us as liberators, right? And people are like, wait a second, I think they might have lied to us.
Yeah.
And then kind of the rage and the fever of anger that had gripped so much of America and made so much of America vengeful, it kind of subsided once they realized, oh wow, this is the end result of what we've done. Kind of like what's happened to Israel. I warned Israel. I mean, I said, Israel, you're going to respond in a worse way that makes everything worse, and voila, now Israel completely underwater. I never thought this would have happened in my lifetime. A 48-point swing where a majority of Americans now are pro-Palestinian. Israel managed to do that in 2 years. I never would have thought that would happen in your lifetime and my lifetime, Mike. And now you're seeing this complete reversal that took about 5-6 years for George W. Bush, who had the whole of America and the entire world had our backs, right, after the 9/11 terror attacks. People forget.
Right.
And they chose to squander it with the war on terror. And Donald
Right.
Trump, he won, and everyone bowed down to him, and all the corporations have bowed down to him. I think they're going to regret it real quick, Mike. Those photos aren't going to go away of the oligarchy in the front row, all the corporate media in the front row, all the celebrities who bent the knee. I think they should be polishing up and rehearsing their apology tour right now. But what you're seeing is a doubling down. You see the doubling down, America first, but we're going to have war with Venezuela. We're going to release the Epstein files, but we're going to let Ghislaine Maxwell just have a sweetheart deal, and maybe we might commute her sentence. I'm going to make America great again for everyone. Billionaires, crypto, AI, bailout for Melee, but the rest of you pay your more for groceries. I'm going to have a great Gatsby party. Oh, and the billionaire bill. Yeah, they're going to get tax cuts, but you're going to lose healthcare, right? It's all being revealed. And I think a lot of people who felt like they were part and parcel of the MAGA cult, they're seeing the irreconcilable incongruity between what MAGA said and what MAGA is doing, and because it's affecting them. And I do think this America First, no war is a part of the MAGA promise that a lot of people who don't follow MAGA, like you and me, they don't realize how that this is like a big betrayal, right? Israel, Palestine, a trade war, threatening war with Venezuela. And now yesterday, you got this Washington Post exclusive. Pete Hegseth, our Secretary of War, ordered the first Caribbean boat strike, officials say, as two men clung to a stricken, burning ship targeted by SEAL Team 6. The Joint Special Operations Commander followed Hegseth's order to, quote, kill them all and leave no survivors. I have been saying for more than a month now that these are murders, extrajudicial murders done by the Trump administration, where more than 24 people have been killed. No evidence. They have not shown any evidence that there were drug dealers or traffickers or any of this nonsense. The one survivor that they had, remember, Mike, they quickly repatriated that survivor, so we couldn't ask him any questions. Donald Trump has said he has the power in him. Republicans in the Senate, except Rand Paul, said, go ahead and kill these people. But now this has come out. And as a result of this coming out, I don't know if you saw this yesterday, speaking about the cracks, Republican Senator Wicker, chair of the Armed Services, said the following. The committee is aware of recent news reports and the Department of Defense's initial response regarding alleged follow-on strikes on suspected narcotics vessels in the Southcom area of responsibility. The committee has directed inquiries to the department, and we will be conducting vigorous oversight to determine the facts related to these circumstances. And today you had more Republicans and Democrats sign on to that. Talk to us, break that down in MAGA speak for us.
Boy, there's a lot to unpack there, brother. I was reading I was reading some more polling data, Waj, so I don't mean to deflect from that. But
No.
can I mention something else, and then we'll
Please.
double back to that?
Please.
There's two things I want people to watch for in the coming weeks that are going to be indicative of whether what Waj and I are talking about is actually having a corrosive effect in MAGA world. The first, of course, is this Tennessee special election coming up.
I was about to get there.
Yeah. And, it's a Trump plus 22 district. I would be absolutely shocked. My jaw would drop if the Democrat wins. It may happen. I'm not making any predictions here. But what I am saying is when the president of the United States leans into a Trump plus 22 district and the Speaker of the House has to weigh in too, they know that they're in trouble. Okay. Now, if this race comes down to 5 to 7 points, Republican wins by 5 to 7 points, that's still devastating numbers. Because if you extrapolate that across the country, you're talking about a bigger blue wave than you saw in 2018. The other race I want you to keep mindful of, and people aren't talking about this yet, but you're going to hear a lot more about it in the coming days and weeks, the race for the mayor of Miami, which is also where Donald Trump has weighed in. For the Republican, Cuban, Republican, Latino guy, in the primary, the Democrat was the top vote getter, and another Democrat was the third vote getter. So there's a very, very, very good chance that the mayor of Miami ends up being a Democrat as opposed to a Republican, and that can really only happen with a significant deterioration with Cuban Republican voters. So that will also suggest, by the way, I know this is a little bit nerdy, but that would also suggest that Cubans as Latinos are voting the same way as New Jersey Dominican Latinos in New York City and Passaic County, New Jersey, and Manassas, Virginia, and in every county in California, which means for the first time you're seeing a multi-ethnic, multi-country of origin Latino voting bloc voting against Donald Trump.
Wow.
That I think is a very significant development. I think it's more likely than not you're going to start hearing that story, I think, coming in the coming days. People are realizing, because Trump himself has weighed in there too. He's endorsed the Republican nominee for mayor of Miami. It's back, it's his hometown, essentially. I think you're going to see both of those races show remarkable resilience for the Democrats. They'll probably only win the one, but even getting within single digits in a Trump plus 22 district is extraordinary.
And with the Afton Ben race, it's next week. It's a special election. Folks, even AOC is now gone all in. So the fact that the Democrats see that as potentially winnable if she wins, I don't know. But this, as Mike said, for those who didn't catch it, Trump carried this district by 22 points just 11 months ago. 22 points. And the fact that they're making big hay of this means they're worried. All right. This is something that they could sleepwalk into this winner by 10. And yes, American citizen. Last time I checked, she is within 2 points. Even the fact that she's within 2 points, even if she loses within 4 points, that's a margin of error. A Democrat winning or losing rather by within a margin of error 4 points in this Tennessee district is, man, it would be DEFCON 1 for me if I was a Republican pollster.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So I'm sorry, I was just going through those numbers. I wanted to be prepared if you were going to go into the other races, so I didn't answer your other question. But
Well, but the
um,
other question I had is, what before we started filming, I said my gut tells me that these latest news leaks that have come out against Kristi Noem and Pete
yeah,
Hegseth and Kash
yeah,
Patel. For those who haven't followed, the DOJ just a couple of days ago blamed Kristi Noem, said she was the one who defied the Judge Brosberg's order of turning around the plane. The plane in question, it was the plane that had 230 plus innocent brown men, including Kilmar Abrego Garcia, who were kidnapped and sent to die in an El Salvador prison. The DOJ just happened to name Kristi Noem. She was the one who dissipated. And then this leak, and I'm using the word leak. Oh, it was Pete Hegseth who ordered on the Caribbean boat. He's the one that said kill them all. And then you saw the leak about Kash Patel, who's taken numerous allegedly flights using taxpayer dollars for his girlfriend. Right? This, Mike, to me, can only come from someone in the inside.
yeah, yes. I'm sorry. There's no other there's no other explanation. This is and a sign of a leaking administration is a sign again of not just the rats jumping ship, but blaming. The blame game is worse than retiring. And I want people to really breathe that in because retiring means, okay, I'm taking my helmet off, I'm hanging up my cleats, I'm walking off the field, I'm no longer part of this. When you're blaming, you're actively trying to undermine the administration or at least the figureheads in those jobs. So will Kash Patel lose his job? Will Pete Hegseth lose his job? I think it's increasingly likely that by summer, at least one of those two loses their job. I think Pam Bondi's kind of indispensable because she's lied so much and covered up so much that she can't go anywhere. He
Yeah,
he he can't get rid of her, no matter
they're
what. Like,
they're
she's
all
bearing
in.
so many bodies that I mean, it's gonna be fascinating when they do the tell-all story of her life after this, what happens to her, but they can't. He can't get rid of Pam Bondi. Kash Patel, completely dispensable. Hegseth, completely dispensable. He'll find other stooges to fill those roles, but those leaks are coming from people at a decent level in both of those agencies that are gunning for them and trying to get them fired. And my guess is they're probably going to be successful in the coming months,
And
maybe
also, when it
sooner.
comes to our European allies, another big leak. I know it's not the biggest story. It should be a big story. Wall Street Journal just reported it yesterday. That flaming leftist rag, Wall Street Journal, that Steve Witkoff, a name that we talk about often on the show, especially with Lev Parnas, who's Trump's envoy, and Jared Kushner and Donald Trump, essentially through the back channels, betrayed Ukraine and our European allies to do Russia's bidding. Specifically, that back channel meeting where Witkoff was coaching the Russian envoy, saying how he should flatter Putin, and then that 28-point peace plan is essentially not essentially Russia's peace plan laundered through to Donald Trump and then positioned as our peace plan and a mutually agreed upon peace plan. No, and they're all doing this just to basically work back channels through Russia and get richer and throwing Ukraine and the allies under the bus. It wasn't a flaming leftist rag that did it. It was the Wall Street Journal, and it was
Right.
leaked allegedly by a European ally. So these leaks are coming because the European allies like, whoa, 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 these mother effers are screwing Ukraine and Europe. Okay, so they probably have their own intelligence. These people are
Yes.
idiots, reckless. So that conversation, that 5-minute audio conversation that was printed in Bloomberg got leaked by a European ally. I'm assuming an intelligence community that wanted to kill this outright before it went into to become implemented and just show the world that Trump, Witkoff, and Kushner are completely compromised by Russia. All these leaks are happening. Folks, he can't escape on the economy. He can't escape on Epstein. He promised his base America first. Now he's just straight up threatening war with Venezuela. That was already in Project 2025. They want to get rid of Maduro, having a puppet leader, and get up and gobble up all the oil and resources. They're getting more reckless when it comes to their wealth. AI, crypto, the billions of dollars. They don't give a shit that people are starving. He's getting older. You're seeing Julius Caesar here. You see Ted Cruz throwing his hat in the ring, JD Vance, Peter Thiel. Um, my last question to you, Mike, it's getting worse. And they're stuck now. And I think they're all in. They can't escape because it's like, well, if you go, I go. And they're crabs. They're crabs. They're like, I'm not gonna let you escape. You're gonna come down with me, right? And they all have the goods and shit on each other, which means they're gonna stab each other in the back. It's gonna happen, folks. Uh, but as he gets more desperate and as he's a cornered rat, what do you expect him to do?
Well, you're going to see more elevating the stakes. Like I said, he's already shown he's willing to go ahead and commit war crimes essentially against Venezuela. I think you're going to see that increase dramatically. They're going to try the oldie but goodie, which is, bombing so that they can release the footage of them hitting these strikes and saying, we thought that this was, drug factories out in the jungles of Venezuela and, blowing things up. And these are the bad guys, and trying to use that old sort of Gulf War propaganda to try to prop up the regime. The problem is, Waj, we've already turned the corner. People had it. When I see these numbers with Republicans that are just saying we're done with him, I mean, I've never seen this share of the Republican base distancing themselves from
I
Trump
think
and
that's
blaming him
important,
for the problems.
Mike. I think that's important what you said, and pardon me to cut you off. Trump has been in our consciousness, unfortunately, for 10 years. That's a decade of our life we won't get back. And we've been following, you and I have been following him for 10 years and what he represents with the MAGA movement and the right wing movement, not just here, but abroad. We have never, and I know so many people, I'm saying this for all the people who are traumatized, and all the people are like, fooled me once, won't fool me again. He's impervious, he's indestructible. No, it's
Oh,
inevitable. No, I have
no.
never seen him this weak. I've never seen these numbers. I've never seen these type of fissures. He broke with Marjorie Taylor Greene, Thomas Massey. They didn't crawl back to him. Nick Fuentes is mocking him. Tucker Carlson, Fuentes, I would say Candace Owens, Marjorie Taylor Greene represent the new dividing ship of MAGA. I think the future of MAGA, which is now America first, America only. I haven't seen this type of weakness ever.
He's going to get more erratic. The language is going to get more dangerous. You are going to see more resignations. You're going to see more leaks. You're going to see more undermining coming from within. You're going to see the fights, the public fights between high level officials start happening with more regularity, more frequency. The conflicts between departments, the conflicts between right wing social media influencers, these people online that have made their living by being as pro Trump as they possibly can, are starting to realize the gravy train's running out. Our time here is done, and you're going to start to see an atomization. Trump's not going to do well in that environment. He's not going to do well. But like I said, I think at a certain point, um, the divisions, and again, I'm not going to speculate. I don't know, Waj, I know he's going to get more erratic. I know he's going to get more dangerous in rhetoric, at least. I don't know how the inner circle around him starts to react to it. He's going to completely isolate him more and more and more with fewer and fewer loyalists. And I think that as public opinion continues to sour, um, we just got to be mindful that this is going to get crazier before it gets calmer.
Yeah, folks, and it's not going to be a haymaker. I've always said this is death through a thousand cuts. And it's only been a year. So that's how fascism breaks. You have to leak it, cut, 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 cut. Everyone has a role to play. School board victory here, city council victory here, a judge's victory here, immigration activist here, economic boycotts there. Playing on each other, divide and conquer, pit Marjorie Taylor Greene and Nick Fuentes against Ben Shapiro and Mark Levine. But one thing I will warn you folks, because I'm really worried about this, I'll say it again. Use them, don't be used by them. I see so many independents, so many liberals, so many people who are progressive who get limited information saying, I think Candace Owens has turned a corner. Did you see what Tucker Carlson said about Palestine? Did you see what Nick Fuentes said? I think he's just joking. No, they're all horrific, hateful, conspiratorial racists who are using you. Use them. Use them and then discard them because they're using you right now to pivot and to get rich. Don't fall for it, folks. And I think he's a desperate cornered rat who, folks, this is a man who will burn the country down. If he can't be in power, he'll burn it all down, which is why I'm still worried about the Insurrection Act and martial law because they've mentioned the Insurrection Act multiple times. Take them literally and seriously. Mike, thanks so much for joining me on a Saturday. Last second, I literally emailed him. He goes, I'm here. I got out of the shower in my pajamas. I'm like, should I actually relax and have a chai? No, let me speak. So I want you all to reward Mike, who was a trooper. Mike, shamelessly promote yourself, sir.
Yeah, I'd love to have you guys follow along. I write about these topics very, very regularly. I'm obviously here with Waj. Follow me at The Great Transformation is my Substack. Give me a follow. I'd appreciate it. And I'm looking forward to the next phase of this fight with you, brother, heading into the next year. Thanks for everything you've done up to this point
No,
and what you're going to do next.
where all of us have it's gonna get worse, folks. It's gonna get worse. 10 toes down. It's gonna be a long fight, long walk. This has been the left hook. I did something different. I did the anti-capitalist, or rather what I call, I said the worst capitalist ever Black Friday sale. And it's available for a week. And so everything is independent, everything's without paywall, everything's free. I depend on the kindness of strangers. If you have some money, become a paid subscriber for Mike. But if you aren't a paid subscriber to the Left Hook, uh, I've kept everything 25% off. So for like $3.50 a month, you can become a paid subscriber, and for a year now, it's $37. I'm gonna put it in the link below. There's a special link. And just go to that link, folks. Actually, I'm gonna put it. If you give me a second, Mike, let me try to
Yeah.
be a good capitalist for my immigrant parents who cry each time. They're like, "Why have you kept everything for free?" I'm like, "I don't know. I feel bad." So here you go. Actually, there's a coupon. I'm going to put it at the and for those who joined us late, here you go. It's 25% off, and for those who joined us late, this will be up on my Substack, the Left Hook, and Mike's Substack in about an hour. We talked about all the poll numbers. Mike goes through the data for the last 30 years, broke it down, and folks, you can confidently say Trump is weak. MAGA is weak. We talked about the defections, and we talked about how they're so desperate that they're doubling down on the only thing they know, which is racism and xenophobia, not realizing that this is exactly what's made him so unpopular. He's overreaching on economy, overreaching on Epstein files. Now he's overreaching on war, even though he promised America first. He's overreaching on immigration and racism. None of it's working. He's going to get more violent and more desperate, but there is an opening here for the rest of us to weaken this movement, folks. And there are special elections that are happening. I don't know, man. If she wins, okay, last thing before you go.
Yep.
Suppose she wins in Tennessee. Afton
Okay.
Ben somehow wins next week in a plus 22 Trump Republican Tennessee district. Your immediate takeaway. The mic's in front of you. CNN calls you. Mike Madrid. She just won. Camera goes to you.
I think it's the end of the MAGA movement. I think you're going to see a tremendous break and fissures in the Republican Party. And I'll tell you why. I'll tell you specifically why. There are not a whole lot of members of Congress that have where Trump carried their districts by 22 points. That means if you're at 22, you're not safe. You're not safe. And again, it gets back to that strategy of do you blame or do you resign or do you keep doubling, tripling down on MAGA? So we're already seeing leakage. We're already seeing breakage. When if a Democrat, to your point, wins 11 months after within a year of or 11 months of him being sworn in, losing a Trump 22 district, it is a completely different world, entirely and completely different world.
Folks, people thought Mamdani wouldn't win. I interviewed him about 9 months ago. He was a distant number two. He's now the mayor of New York. You never know. We're in it. Be hopeful. Be informed. Enjoy the rest of the weekend. Enjoy your families. Mike, thanks so much for spending an hour with me. You're a trooper. Everyone, go subscribe to a Substack. Subscribe to the Left Hook. For those 1,500 nearly who joined us late on a 11, well, my 10:45 p.m., Mike's 7:45 p.m. Thank you so much. Thanks for being informed, and we'll have this conversation up in an hour. Take care, Mike. Thanks, buddy.
Thanks, Watch.